Let me share a perspective no one has likely articulated to you quite so directly. Your brain inherently loves to learn. It was fundamentally designed for discovery. However, it strongly resists the conventional methods of study you were taught. And why is this? Because you were instructed to learn like a machine, yet you are profoundly human. They told you to repeat, to memorize, to copy, to review, and then to repeat again. But the brain wasn't engineered to simply follow commands. It was built to explore and engage with ideas. Reflect on those instances when you absorbed something effortlessly. Perhaps it was a new game, a captivating song, or an episode of a series you recall with vivid detail. You didn't study these, you experienced them. Your brain was alive, celebrating, actively curious, forging connections, crafting narratives, finding joy, and fully immersed. That is the true essence of learning. Now contrast that with moments spent in front of a textbook, mechanically reiterating sentences, attempting to convince yourself of your focus. That sensation when your mind inevitably begins to wander, your physical presence remains, but your thoughts have drifted far away. That's your brain signaling unequivocally, this isn't working. Consider how many times you've attempted to learn something only to feel that nothing was truly sinking in. How often have you stared at a page, perceiving everything as dull, lifeless, and devoid of color? Now listen closely. The issue was never the subject matter itself. It was the approach you took to learn it. The human mind was created for exploration, not for mere memorization. It ignites in the face of a mystery, but it disengages when confronted with monotonous repetition. When you experience boredom during the learning process, it's not an indication of a lack of intelligence. Rather, it's a clear signal that you're attempting to force knowledge along a pathway your brain is unwilling to traverse. Boredom acts as your brain's alarm, proclaiming, "Hey, you're not genuinely learning. You're just trying to endure this information." Now imagine a simple scenario, a scientist grappling with a profound mystery. They don't resort to memorizing formulas. Instead, they engage with them playfully. They test hypotheses. They encounter failures. They draw comparisons. They persistently ask, "Why does this happen?" And through this iterative process, their brain illuminates like a constellation. That is the authentic nature of learning. It's an investigation. It's about making connections. It's the transformation of the unknown into something intimately familiar. But what is the typical response? Most people pick up a book and try to compel their minds to comply. You cannot master knowledge through such coercion. You merely push it further away. Learning is not a punitive task. It is arguably the most captivating game ever conceived. However, you only unlock this realization when you cease to study like an automaton and begin to think like an intrepid explorer. The core secret is curiosity. Every time you pose the question, "What if?" your brain awakens. Conversely, every time you passively read without questioning, it drifts into slumber. You don't require more discipline. You require more discovery. So the next time learning feels unengaging, don't shy away from it. Instead, ask yourself, what am I misapplying in this process? Because boredom is not your adversary. It is your instructor, revealing that a superior learning methodology exists. The problem isn't the content, it's the method. You are not unintelligent. You are simply employing the wrong tool for the task at hand. It's akin to attempting to fly an airplane by manually pushing it with your hands. Naturally, it feels utterly exhausting. Of course, it feels futile because it is. You've been conditioned to believe that sheer effort equates to learning, yet effort devoid of direction is merely wasted energy. Authentic learning blossoms when you are genuinely curious, when your brain yearns to know what comes next, when you are playfully interacting with knowledge rather than struggling against it. And the most beautiful aspect of this is that it's not an innate gift, it's a cultivated habit. You possess the capacity to rekindle that innate love for learning. All it demands is a shift in how you engage with ideas. Cease striving to study. Begin to truly understand. Stop attempting to memorize and start to discover. You were not born to merely recall answers. You were born to pose the kinds of questions that reshape the world. Allow me to share something that could fundamentally alter your perception of learning. The brain doesn't learn out of obligation. It learns when it perceives meaning. Anything that currently feels arduous or uninteresting is, in essence, simply something your brain hasn't yet successfully linked to your existing knowledge base. This explains why you might effortlessly grasp complex concepts, yet find yourself stumped by something seemingly simple. It's not a deficit of intelligence. It's a lack of connection. Envision your brain as an intricate map. Every idea you've ever acquired is a city. When new information emerges, your brain instinctively attempts to construct a pathway, a road, to connect this novel data to what already exists. If it successfully finds that route, an aha, some moment occurs and you comprehend. However, if it fails to establish a connection, that new piece of information remains an isolated, barren landscape. And it is precisely there that boredom begins to take root. Now pause, take a breath and reflect. How many times have you encountered something and dismissed it with, "This is useless"? Well, here's the unvarnished truth. The problem isn't the subject itself. It's that you haven't yet discerned its relevance. And here's the crucial insight. Relevance isn't something you passively uncover. It's something you actively create. You possess the power to render anything engaging if you understand how to intertwine it with your own world. If you're studying biology, consider your own body as your personal laboratory. If it's mathematics, observe how it imposes order on the inherent chaos of everything. In finance, in music, in the celestial bodies, when you imbue what you're learning with purpose, your brain illuminates like a beacon. It declares, "Oh, so this is its function." And in that precise moment, knowledge ceases to be a burden and transforms into potent power. Listen intently. Everything that currently feels challenging can become a source of joy once you construct the appropriate bridge. That bridge is meticulously built with curiosity, insightful analogies, and an ardent desire to perceive how every single idea interweaves with your life. Learning is akin to assembling a complex puzzle. Sometimes your struggle isn't due to a lack of ability, but merely the absence of the correct piece. And when it finally clicks into place, you experience that internal spark. That's your brain celebrating a profound discovery. So the next time something feels inconsequential, ask yourself, how can this particular concept enhance my understanding of the world? Because the true secret was never about escaping boredom. It was about transmogrifying boredom into insatiable curiosity. Now imagine something incredibly powerful. You are so utterly absorbed in an activity that you completely lose track of time. Hours dissolve into what feels like mere minutes. You experience no hunger, no fatigue, no sense of urgency, just profound focus, a lightness of being, and an invigorating sense of aliveness. This is the flow state. It represents that magical confluence where your mind and spirit dance in perfect synchronicity. And guess what? This is precisely when authentic learning occurs, because flow is your brain's innate affirmation, signaling, "I am exactly where I am meant to be." But here lies the challenge. Almost no one truly understands how to access this state because we spend our lives attempting to force learning instead of cultivating a genuine passion for it. You cannot enter flow by mechanically repeating meaningless phrases. You enter it when you perceive yourself genuinely discovering something new, when you sense tangible progress, even if it's incremental. Listen to me now. This is vital. The brain enters a state of flow when both challenge and meaning are present simultaneously. If a task is too simplistic, boredom sets in. If it's excessively difficult, frustration takes over. However, when something is sufficiently challenging to captivate you and clear enough to provide direction, you seamlessly transition into that state where everything effortlessly unfolds. That's when learning becomes a source of profound pleasure, where exhaustion transmutes into invigorated energy, where curiosity becomes an inexhaustible fuel, and time itself simply ceases to exist. Desire an example? Recall your childhood when you simply played. You didn't study to learn, yet you were constantly acquiring knowledge. Every attempt was an experiment, every mistake a revelation. You were naturally in a state of flow. You were fully immersed in the experience, not fixated on the outcome. And that is precisely what most adults tend to forget. The courage to playfully engage with knowledge, to experiment, to make mistakes, to savor the entire process. Because learning isn't about rote memorization of ideas. It's about living them. And flow is that pivotal moment when your brain finally recollects that learning is as fundamental and natural as breathing. When you cultivate this, studying ceases to feel like an onerous burden and transforms into a beautiful addiction. You won't want to stop, because you'll feel yourself evolving with every passing second. And that caliber of pleasure is what distinguishes ordinary individuals and propels them towards extraordinary intellectual achievements. Allow me to impart a secret that no educational institution ever truly teaches. The most effective learners globally aren't those who dedicate the longest hours to study. They are the ones who intuitively know when to disengage, yes, to stop. Because learning doesn't flourish when you coerce your mind, it blossoms when you honor your inherent rhythm. The brain is not an unyielding steel-like muscle, it is a vibrant, living garden. And a garden doesn't thrive by forcibly pulling its plants upwards, but by providing them with ample time and fertile ground. So many individuals conflate productivity with sheer exhaustion. They might spend 10 hours attempting to learn, yet only genuinely comprehend during the initial 2. Beyond that point, their physical presence remains, but their mind drifts away. You've experienced it. That moment when you reread the same sentence 5 times and still fail to grasp its meaning. That's your brain unequivocally signaling its need for rest. And what is the common response? Most people disregard it. They push harder, and in doing so, they extinguish the inherent joy of learning. Listen to me with utmost attention now. Deep learning necessitates significant energy, and energy cannot be forced. It must be replenished. You require intervals of pause. You need to breathe, moments where the brain can reorganize, re-establish connections, and uncover deeper meaning. It is within those periods of quietude that ideas begin to germinate. It is in rest that raw knowledge transmutes into profound wisdom. Therefore, cease evaluating your worth by the sheer number of hours you dedicate to study. Your progress is not defined by the quantity of time, but by the quality of your attention. 3 hours of genuine, focused learning are infinitely more valuable than 10 hours of obligatory engagement. You don't need to study more, you need to study smarter. If you can enter a state of flow, truly immerse yourself for 3 hours, then grant yourself permission to pause, to breathe, to walk, you will return more inventive, more invigorated, and more prepared to learn anew. Because learning is not a frantic race, it is an intricate dance between sustained effort and restorative rest. And when you finally internalize this truth, you will realize that learning possesses the potential to be the most natural, joyous, and transformative endeavor of your life. Do you recognize the most significant error made by those who aspire to learn more? It's the misconception that learning is solely about accumulating knowledge. It is not. Learning is fundamentally about self-transformation. Knowledge that fails to alter your perspective is merely information. However, authentic learning reshapes your vision. It changes how you perceive the world and, most importantly, how you perceive yourself. Have you ever observed how individuals who genuinely love learning appear more vibrant, more alive? They don't possess encyclopedic knowledge of everything, yet they exude a captivating curiosity that illuminates their eyes. They don't simply memorize facts, they engage in a dynamic interplay with ideas. And that is precisely why you must cease to fear the process. Mistakes, uncertainties, difficulties, these are all integral components of the profound alchemy of personal growth. Listen to me with unwavering attention, as this might be the most crucial insight you encounter today. You are not bored because the subject matter is inherently dull. You are bored because you have disengaged from the intrinsic mystery of life itself. And life, my friend, is the most magnificent classroom imaginable. Every facet of it offers a lesson, but only those who approach it with genuine curiosity, rather than hurried impatience, truly learn. Learning is not always easy, but it need not be an oppressive burden. It becomes lighter the moment you recognize that every challenge presents an opportunity to become more conscious, more aware, more profoundly human. And when you fall in love with this realization, everything undergoes a profound shift. The apprehension of failure dissipates, the compulsion for comparison loses its grip, and a new, more evolved version of yourself begins to emerge. A mind that is vibrant, restless, and inherently creative. Because learning, at its very core, is an act of love. Love for understanding the world, for expanding your own horizons, for unearthing what lies beyond the superficial. And those who truly love learning never truly age. They may transition between careers, relocate to different countries, or pursue new aspirations, but their personal growth never ceases. So, if learning has recently felt uninspiring, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, where did I misplace my curiosity? Because when that curiosity is reignited, everything begins to make sense once more. And perhaps at this very moment, you are realizing a simple yet profoundly powerful truth. Learning was never the problem. The problem was forgetting how truly incredible discovery is. And I genuinely want to hear from you. In the comments section, below write just one sentence. I choose to relearn how to learn. Because that seemingly small act, the very act of writing it, is already tangible proof that you have grasped the essence of this message. You don't merely desire to accumulate information, you wish to reawaken that innate curiosity the world once compelled you to suppress. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel now and activate the notification bell. And please don't forget to leave your like right now. Here, every video is meticulously crafted to reignite something profound within you, to serve as a potent reminder that learning is not a burden. It is an extraordinary privilege, and your brain was unequivocally designed for it, to grow, to evolve, and to marvel at the vast expanse of what it has yet to comprehend. Because ultimately, those who truly learn never experience true boredom.